let's talk about work-life balance. Let's break it down a little bit. Because this is a subject that comes up for me almost every single coaching session I have with a professional. This work-life balance that they're trying to achieve in their life that doesn't seem to be working because they can't quite get it right, but it's something that they're striving towards. I think that there's a much richer way of looking at it than work-life balance, because let's break it down for a second. Let's break it down just even simply in terms of the languaging of work-life balance. So balance simply implies that you have two things that are weighted against each other. And in order to achieve balance, the two things have to weigh equal. Now, even in a realistic situation, people are working far more than they're doing anything else. So we all have 24 hours in a day to spend it how we like to spend it. But most of the time, especially as a professional, as a career person, that person is spending it working. So let's say you're working the average 8-hour a day, up to 16 hours a day. That doesn't leave much time for anything else, because even if you minus 8 from 24, the maths doesn't quite add up realistically. So what happens is that person works for 8 hours, let's say, but then when they come home from work, sometimes they bring work, but they haven't let it go because they're thinking about work while having dinner with their family. And then after they're having dinner, they're trying to wind down from work. So by the time they actually exclude work from their thinking processes, it's already bedtime. And then you sleep and you start the next day. So the idea of trying to achieve work-life balance doesn't seem to be realistic based on the load that we have. Let's also look at the two elements we're measuring against. So we've got life on the one hand and work on the other hand. But listen to the words, work and life. Why is work separate to life? Surely life incorporates work and incorporates family and incorporates rest and relaxation and incorporates the things that you love to do. Why is it separate? And this is where it gets interesting. So as soon as we segregate work from life, work becomes an excuse. Work becomes the reason we're tired. Work becomes the reason we're not looking after ourselves. Work becomes the thing that we blame when we're not living our dream because we have to work. Life needs to incorporate work because it's not two separate things. And if it's viewed as two separate things, then firstly, how much time are we leaving for life after all the work that we're doing? And secondly, are we not bringing ourselves to work? What are we taking to work that's not our life? That's not the time away from our family. That's not the time away from the things that we love. And it causes a huge amount of confusion and conflict within people when we start making that segregation and that separation from work and life. We need to integrate the two. And in order to do that takes a fair amount of effort, but also a fair amount of self-awareness. So let's look at it in another way. Here's what I'm proposing. Instead of focusing on trying to achieve work-life balance, rather focus on trying to ascertain what your priorities are. Now, even the word priorities can mean two different things to different people. So on the one hand, we have the have-tos and the shoulds and the need to. And then on the other hand, we have the priorities, which I'm talking about, the ones that we really need to focus on. So let's move away from the have-tos and the shoulds. As soon as you find yourself saying, I have to, or I should be doing this, you're kind of on the wrong track and you need to re-look at the way that you're thinking and the way that you're acting. And rather shift the focus onto the priorities that I'm going to talk about. And these are the things that help you to integrate work and life, but also help you to integrate time to relax and time to rejuvenate. And now I have hit on a topic that I probably need to do another video on this, because there is a lot to say on this topic. It has become a social norm that rest and restoration and rejuvenation are not things we allow ourselves most of the time. There are exceptions, and I hope that you are one of them. But there's this obsession to be busy and this obsession to work. The guilt that we feel when we're taking that time to rest and recover is something of a red flag. So let's go back to the priorities I'm talking about. When I talk about well-being, I'm not talking about wellness. I'm not talking about going to the spa and getting a massage. I'm not talking about taking a holiday. I'm not talking about eating vegetables. I'm not talking about drinking water. I'm not talking about exercising. Well-being goes way deeper. Well-being talks about the kind of lifestyle that you're setting yourself up for now. What is it that you're doing now that's going to manifest in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? Think about it in the long run. If you are working yourself to the point of near burnout or burnout, what is that doing to your body? What is that doing to your mind? What is that doing to your sense of purpose? So all these things we have to consider, having said all of that, there are seasons in life. Certainly when you're starting out a career, or when you're trying to get ahead in a career, when you're trying to start a family, there are seasons that are very busy and demand a lot from you. But make sure that you have sufficient resources in terms of your well-being that are going to support you through the journey. Things like physical well-being. Are you fit and able enough to do these things? Things like mental well-being. Are you focused and are your intentions in the right place? Spiritual well-being. Why are you doing this? What is sustaining you from a spiritual perspective? And then, of course, all the other reasons, your relationships and so on. Here's something to chew on. The foundation of all activity is rest. And there are a few types of rest. There's rest to rejuvenate and recover, and then there's rest to escape. So, which one do you do most of the time? And do you know the kind of rest that you're getting? So rest to escape is definitely a form of rest. It's the rest where you're coming home from work, you're turning on the television, or you're in front of social media and you just want to take your mind off of work. That is rest to escape. Or you're going on a holiday to escape the environment, to get out of the office, to get out of the city, to go somewhere else. That is also rest to escape. But rest to rejuvenate is not trying to run away from something. It's the ability to actually be in the moment. But when we've come from a really, really stressful day, we don't want to be in the moment because it's going to bring out all the things that we've had to deal with in the day, and we just don't have capacity anymore to deal with it. So when I talk about well-being, I'm talking about a long-term sense of longevity and health and a lifestyle that can support all the things that you want to do. So let's go back to the priorities that I'm talking about. Do you prioritize sleep? This is the big one, because it's very fashionable to not get sleep. And I remember speaking to a client who felt shamed that she got 8 hours of sleep a night. And that concerns me, because sleep is fundamental to everything we do. And if you are a parent and have had children and remember the time when they were very small and you just never got any sleep, what that did to your state of mind and what that did to your health, you'll know exactly what I mean. Sleep is fundamental to everything we do. If we're not getting quality sleep, we cannot expect ourselves to perform at the level that we're needed to perform at. So that is the first thing. The second thing, what is your eating habit like? What are you eating? And how are you eating it? And when are you eating it? So it's not just about what you're eating, but what is it doing for your body? Because your body is a machine. And so in order for it to perform optimally, it needs to be fueled optimally. So what kind of fuel are you giving it? Are you even giving it fuel, or are you giving it too much fuel? So these are things to take into consideration. They might be very simple on paper, but as we start thinking about it, it gets more and more complex. So the third thing, is how you're moving throughout the day physically. You know, we often live in a box. You know, we sleep in a box. We get into our car and we sit in this posture. We get behind our laptop and we're sitting in this posture. We get behind the car again and we're sitting in this posture. We get in front of the TV and we're sitting in this posture. And there's no fluidity in our movement. When we don't move our body, it saps our body from vitality. And I'm not talking about going to the gym, and I'm not talking about doing the exercise you hate. I'm literally talking about shifting your body out of a different attitude. And so these are really core fundamental priorities that we need to take into consideration. So let's move aside the work-life balance story and let's bring in priorities. What right now is a priority for you? Is it packing the kids' lunchbox? Or is it eating dinner? Not the kids' scraps. Is it binge watching a Netflix series? Or is it trying to get into bed and have a decent night's sleep? These questions really vary from person to person and situation to situation. All I want to bring to light today is the stress that people fall under when they're trying to balance work and life. And trying to get people aware of actually what's more important. What's more important is you. Because work and life is not going to happen without you. So you are absolutely, fundamentally the most important thing to yourself. So to prioritize yourself is fundamentally important to your life and your work. There is a lot more to be said on this topic. I've only peeled away one of the layers. But think about it and let me know what you think. Take care. All the best.